lately I've been struggling with our grossly incompetent internet provider. For the last couple of months, we've had extremely spotty service. They don't seem to understand that that is unacceptable. And sadly, because of the way American business works, they have essentially a monopoly where I live. Don't really seem to have any other options at this time. That is just a little preamble for me to talk a little bit about something I've been talking about recently on the channel, which is physical media and how important it is. Because what has been happening? I've tried to do some online gaming. My internet cuts out. I've tried to do some writing on the program that I use, which connects to the internet. Internet cuts out, can't do any writing or editing, particularly. That's not great. What are you going to do? Well, I mean, I'm sitting here. I've got a dog that I'm taking care of. I'm at home. I can't go on the internet. Can't go on cable either because it also is cut out, so I can't watch anything on there. Physical dang media. So lately I've been catching up on some. What did I watch recently? Well, I rewatched, these are all rewatches. Yeah, I'd seen them all before. Solomon Kane. This is an adaptation of the Robert E. Howard character. I don't want to say it's an adaptation of a story. As far as I know, it's not based on any specific story. The Kane stories that I have read were set in Africa, and this is not. This is set in England, which is definitely not Eastern Europe. It's okay. You know, it's basically like, I hate this phrase. I don't know where it came from, but it's grimdark fantasy. It's fine. It's like, it reminds me of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, not necessarily the board game, but Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay if that didn't have any humor in it. Because this doesn't have any humor in it, and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay does. But otherwise, it reminds me of that. Everything's raining. Everything looks like it's covered in mud. Anyway, it's all right. The ending is kind of, but I am sad that it didn't do well. Part of the reason is, like, I don't think it ever got theatrically released in the States. I know it was, when I first saw it, it was a giant pain in the A to find it. And I had to watch it on disc after it had come out. But anyway, watch that. I also watched The Man Who Cheated Himself. This is a restoration from the Film Noir Foundation. Eddie Muller, I believe, is connected with that. Did he found that? I don't remember. But this has got, Lee J. Cobb, and it has John Dahl, who I know mostly from, is it Gun Crazy? But I feel like I think he's also in Rope. And it's so weird because John Dahl's playing like a nice guy, but he's just so kind of unsettling that even when he's playing a good guy, he's still creepy. Lee J. Cobb is kind of chewing the scenery in this. I like Cobb. I think he was a solid actor, but he's definitely like kind of scenery chewing in this. I don't know if he felt like he was slumming and so he just decided to go for the rafters. I don't know what the deal was, but he was, a little over the top. It's fun. It's definitely worth checking out. It is not a classic. It's not one of the great noirs or anything like that, but it's a cool one. It's worth checking out, and it has some gorgeous San Francisco footage. A lot of stuff shot on location in San Francisco, and it looks great. So, The Man Who Cheated Himself, it's okay. And then I rewatched two. For some reason, I had not watched these movies since seeing them in the theater. And that was Grand Budapest Hotel, which this was one of the first dates I went on with my wife. So, it's not, I think it's like 10 years old. Anyway, I love this movie. I really genuinely love this movie. I think this may have pushed Life Aquatic out of the top place for my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I have a hard time even explaining why. I've talked before about how I think that nostalgia is a trap, and I believe that that's true, but I'm not immune from it by any stretch. And I don't know why I have this nostalgia for a time I didn't experience, first off, but also for a time that was not a good time. Uh, but that said, there's always been something about kind of that nebulous between the wars and then post World War II, Europe, Cold War, all that kind of thing. Kind of basically like post World War One to the fall of the Berlin Wall and travel in that time. The idea of travel, like it's when I watch some of the James Bond movies, particularly the first couple with Sean Connery and From Russia with Love, probably number one on this particular list. The travel, the sort of gorgeous environments with always that sort of weird threat of war. I don't know what it is, but there is a nostalgia for it. Uh, you know, I've heard people talk a little bit about Gen X and the kind of the lingering trauma and PTSD or whatever of growing up the way we did, always with that threat of total annihilation looming over us at every turn. You know, I mean, in the 80s, like in the mid 80s, I knew the bombs would start dropping, like anytime. We literally thought about, well, what would we do? And I remember my mother saying to me, we live in a great place because the first wave of bombs, one of them's going to drop near us, and we won't know it happened, so it'll be over quick for us. How messed up is that? But it's true. Because of a random, not random, but because of an odd twist of fate, I lived in a really small town, but we had a giant airport. The airstrip was really large, and because of that, it could handle like any kind of aircraft. Any kind of aircraft. It literally was on the list for the space shuttle as like an emergency backup landing strip. And because of that, it was a target when they, somewhere along the line, I guess the Russian plans had leaked, and that airstrip was a target for the bombs. First or second wave, I can't remember which, but it was an early thing that would have been hit. How messed up is that when you think about that? Anyway, so that's all to say that I have this weird nostalgia for such a horrible time. And then, you add, sorry, that was a real tangent, but then you add Wes Anderson's particular brand of artificial filmmaking, a really wonderful performance from Ray Fiennes, and he does not get enough credit for his comedic acting because he is really, really funny. Obviously, we know he does drama. I mean, The English Patient's one of my favorite films. He does Shakespeare. You watch Coriolanus, and he's a beast in that. But he's very funny, and he's extremely funny in this film. And it has a lot of other great people. I mean, I think Adrian Brody's performance is fantastic, and anyway. It's great stuff. I really, really, really love this movie. And so I think this may have actually slid up to my top spot for Wes Anderson movies. Long rant aside. And then this, which is not obvious from the cover, but this is another Wes Anderson. This is Moonrise Kingdom. And it's Anderson's, this is the nice criterion of Moonrise Kingdom. I don't have the criterion of this. I don't know for sure if it's come out in Criterion. I assume it has, but I bought this like when it first came out on Blu-ray and then had not opened it until this week for reasons. Anyway, Moonrise Kingdom. This is Anderson's sort of take on summer vacation and a kid's first crush or kids' first crushes. I love It has like that, and it has this map of the little island. If I remember right, I think it's supposed to be an island in Maine, but you know, not a real one. So that's pretty cool. Almost be tempting to use this for a Tales from the Loop RPG. It would be about the right era. Well, it would be too early for that RPG, but it'd be the right era for the setup. Indian corn. What is this? This is. Oh, cool. It's got like some illustrations and looks like maybe an essay. Or perhaps it's prop. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I'll have to take a look at that. It's cool. Look at, man, Criterion. Physical media. It's awesome. I saw somebody say this, and I think maybe they're right, that with the studios just absolutely floundering, with a lot of the big chains dropping physical media because they're floundering, because the big chains are all floundering because they're all run for shareholder profits and not for actually good business. I think that you might see a lot of movies being produced in this more, such a weird way to phrase it, but bespoke product. Like these sort of special editions. I gather it's what's happening with music, with vinyl and the vinyl special editions and all that sort of thing. I never bought into the vinyl thing. I have had people explain to me in great detail how vinyl is better and it just sounds better. And okay, sure, I don't get it. It doesn't sound any better to me. I like my discs just fine. Try to find a CD player that will actually work for longer than 6 months because all of our manufacturing is garbage. But I like CDs just fine. I have thousands of them. I'd love to be able to listen to them. But whatever the case, the vinyl special edition thing, it became like that's what the music people really buy, is they buy these vinyl special editions, I guess. Maybe that's what's going to happen with movies. They're going to come out in these special editions, and that'll probably be the way that they come out. I don't know. I can't tell the future. I mean, I would not have guessed 10 years ago that the entire movie industry would be collapsing, that companies would destroy the history of our art for a tax write-off. You know, would I have put it past them? No. Did I imagine it would happen? No, I didn't. You know, I talk about sometimes how like 8 or 9 years ago, I maybe felt the best about this country I had ever felt in my life. And now, let's just say I don't. And 8 or 9 years ago, I felt great about cinema. There was so much amazing preservation work going on. I was getting to attend all these amazing showings of older films. Criterion was going strong. Other companies were putting out these amazing editions, movies that had never been released on DVD before, or even VHS sometimes were being released. They found the almost complete metropolis. It was just a heady time for a cinema fan. And just a decade later, I feel a lot less thrilled about the state of film as an art that will continue and a legacy that will continue. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, downer note. That's all as a reminder that physical media, they can't just take this away from you on a whim. If you buy this and you have a system that can play it, and that I realize becomes a trick, will they continue to manufacture systems that will play this? I don't know. But if you own these things, they can't take them from you. And that is important because it is clear that the companies that own the rights to these movies, to books, to music, they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about these movies. The people who work so hard to put these special editions out, they care about these movies. And I think that these movies are important. Pardon my French, going to swear, so if you're offended by this, I'll be wrapping up in a moment. You can probably end the video. But when I watched the movie Why Don't You Play in Hell, which is a movie that I genuinely loved. Unfortunately, it turns out some of the people involved with it were apparently garbage people because we can't have nice things anymore. There's so many garbage people out there. But whatever the case, the movie was fantastic. And there's a line in that movie that I think is so apropos for film. It's about movies, it's about film. And I think it's so true. And that's that it's bullshit, but it's holy. And I think that that is extremely, extremely true. Yes, this is bullshit, but this is holy. And I think that it's important that we remember it and that we share it. We know about it. It's our culture. It's who we are. It's what we did. It's part of who we are. Anyhow, that's it for me today. Physical media, yeah. It'll go even when your internet goes out. You can still watch your movies if you own the movies, and you don't have to worry about stupid streaming services. So, until next time, I don't know. There's links in the bio below, or whatever thing he's called below. If you want to support the channel in any way, please do. It'd be great. A like, a support, or a subscribe, whatever. Hey, help me buy a DVD down in the thing. There's an Amazon wish list. I know, Evil Empire, but what can I do? There's nobody selling them around here anymore. Until next time, take care.